Joining me now, Congresswoman Shontel Brown, Democrat of Ohio. Congresswoman, let's start with news unfolding this afternoon. We're watching a sit-in that House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senator Cory Booker are holding on Capitol Hill steps right now. What are your thoughts as Congress returns tomorrow to that debate, Congresswoman?
Well, I'm incredibly proud of the members who are taking it to the public to really push back on this Republican budget. That's what they're sitting in, if you will, for. They are standing up against the cuts against Medicare and Medicaid. They are fighting against the attack on people's Social Security. They are standing against the cuts for SNAP and WIC programs. And so the things that people are constantly calling our office about, the things that people have been protesting and marching in the streets since Trump has been in office is what you have been hearing being talked about on those steps. And if I just may point out something, Rev, in the first 100 days under the Biden-Harris administration, he passed the American Rescue Plan, which got shots in arms, opened doors, got people back in school, and passed the child tax credit. While Donald Trump is proposing this thing to try to promote women to have more babies, Biden-Harris administration and Democrats actually did something to make it better for people with children right now by passing that child tax credit that actually cut poverty in half from June 2021 to December 2021. But we couldn't get our Republican colleagues to extend that.
And I'm seeing many members of the caucus, Lisa Blunt Rochester, and former chair of the caucus, Stephen Horsford of Las Vegas, have joined the sit-in. People all day, some of us in the civil rights community. I couldn't go. I was preaching in Detroit today, but we've been monitoring and having people go. Now, we've been following, Congresswoman, Trump's escalation of his migrant purge, including the arrest of an elected judge for alleged obstruction of immigration agents, the deportation of a 2-year-old U.S. citizen, possibly without due process, and the outcry over Kilmar Abrego Garcia being stuck in an El Salvador prison has immigration and legal advocates warning that we're on the verge of a constitutional crisis. Last night, I asked Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer if we were already there. Here's his answer to that question.
Yes, it has, unfortunately, because Trump wants to be king. A king doesn't have a constitution. A king just does whatever he wants. When you go before a judge, you think that you hope and believe that that judge is impartial. What Trump, Biondi, and the whole Justice Department are trying to do is push that judge, threaten that judge, so the judge is no longer impartial.
Congresswoman, what's your reaction?
Well, I think that some of us are not surprised because this is a man who said he wanted to be a dictator on day one. He also said he wanted to terminate the Constitution. The problem with this administration is its goal is to bully, intimidate, and threaten. And that is the goal. And that's what you see happening. A couple of weeks ago, it was a man from El Salvador. Last week, it was folks at Case Western Reserve getting their visas revoked, whose nationality we did not know. Today, it's a judge. Tomorrow, it could be you. So this is the reason you see folks like future Speaker of the House, Leader Jeffries, and Cory Booker sitting on the steps, speaking up and speaking out, because we cannot let these things go by silently. These are things that my Republican colleagues, however, seem to be sitting on the sidelines silently, letting these things happen, or in some cases, even putting forth legislation to try to enable and empower this administration and this president to run for a third term. And when he says he wants to do that, we should absolutely take him seriously.
Last week, several congressional Democrats visited and met with Columbia University student Mahmoud Kathil and other immigrants being detained in Louisiana after being arrested by ICE. Some of your colleagues have also been to El Salvador recently to meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Do you think visits like this with high-profile lawmakers and public figures will help those detained or deported by Trump's purge?
I think what it helps is call the attention to the issue. This is a constitutional issue. This is about due process. It is about the foundation and the fundamental rights that we as citizens of America enjoy. If you are here legally, then you have the ability to have certain rights, and due process is a part of that. So when you have my colleagues raising this and elevating this to the public, that is what the focus should be: protecting the Constitution, which enables us to have due process in this country. Donald Trump should not be the only person that should receive due process. He was tried before a jury of his peers, and he was convicted 34 times on his felony count, yet we find him in the most powerful position in the White House, and again, using his position to bully, intimidate, and threaten people. So it is incumbent upon us. One of the things that was said on the step is that it is not up to the people in power. Those people are on the steps to show that the power is still in the people.
Now, we hit the 100-day mark of this administration this week, and several polls showed this weekend suggest Trump's in trouble with voters. Specifically, our new NBC News Stay Tuned poll, which finds that 55%, more than half the country, disapproves of the job that President Trump has done. And for younger voters, it's worse, with 2/3 disapproving. Trump's also underwater with voters on issues he campaigned on, according to this latest poll, with deep divides over his handling of immigration and the economy. Do you think this kind of public reaction will finally bring Trump to heel?
I don't know what can bring Trump to heel, Reverend Al, but what I do know is that he did campaign on lowering the cost of gas, goods, and groceries on day one. Now, he has been able to do a lot of things in his first 100 days, but he has not been able to lower the cost of gas, goods, and groceries. And that's what people say they elected him for. So until he is able to prove himself of being able to do some of the good things that he proposed on his agenda, perhaps this may humble him. Perhaps this will turn him around. But what I can say is, when the people speak up, when the people push back, we have seen this president reverse course. And some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have been instrumental in picking up the phone and saying, hey, my communities are being impacted by this. When you cut SNAP benefits, that just doesn't hurt Black and brown people. That hurts people in the rural communities. That's hurting our farmers. But that has to be presented to him in a way that he understands. So perhaps this could be the turning point for this administration, but I won't hold my breath, Rev.
I want to ask you about another story that caught my interest this week. In Louisiana, where the Whitney Plantation Museum, the first plantation turned museum to focus on the history of slavery, has now lost 2 federal grants as a result of Trump's DEI ban and its impact on the Institute of Museum and Library Services. The museum is appealing the decision, but a 3-year project on slavery's resistance hangs in the balance. What does the nation risk losing in terms of Black history if sites like the Whitney can't do their kind of work?
It will devastate our American history. Black history is American history. And this administration's attempt to whitewash history it was so predictable. It's something that, again, some of us anticipated just based on how he has campaigned, based on some of his past practices. But the way that they are going about it, it's just blatantly racist and blatantly trying to whitewash history. And we cannot have American history without Black history. That's just it.